What is going on, Internet? Another video coming at you from, in the newly named, the Washington Football Report. This is James. Let's dive into this. Today, I'm going to kind of vent a little bit about the stuff I've been seeing on Twitter the last couple of days. So, yesterday, I saw a post that said Washington should trade Chase Young, 3 first-round picks for Deshaun Watson. And I say hell no to that. Hell no. Listen. We can give up a lot of picks to get a player, okay? We can give away some players to get a player. You do not give away the players that you're building your franchise around, that are staple franchise players. You don't do that. That's just stupid. This is how you end up losing trades, okay? The Stafford trade with Goff is good because the Lions get a lot of assets for a quarterback they wanted to get assets for. They took on a quarterback, which they don't have to pay all of his salary. Or most of their salary still is paid by the Rams. And they might have a quarterback, but they can dump him after next year. They basically have an out for themselves. They didn't trade away staple pieces that you're going to build for the future, that are going to build your franchise up for the future. In my mind, there are 4 players that are untradeable. In my mind, this is the way I personally see it. You may disagree with me, and that's fine. You have a right to disagree. But this is how I personally see it. I see 4 players untradeable. In this scenario, this whatever you want to call it, 4 players are untradeable. First one, Chase Young. Bar none, untradeable. I don't care if they offer us a straight switch for Deshaun Watson. And they give us J.J. Watt too. I'm not taking it. Okay, he's too good a player. He's too impactful on our fan base, on his teammates in the locker room, everything. He's the perfect franchise player that you want. Second one untradeable to me, Montez Sweat. He's not tradable. The reason we're good is we have 2 staple, good Pro Bowl caliber defensive ends that feed off each other. The rest of the defense and the team feeds off of them. Montez Sweat is a fantastic player. He's not tradable. And the third one to me is Deshaun Payne. Deshaun Payne is of all the 4 I'm going to mention here, is maybe only one I could give a little bit of ground on. Like if it absolutely mattered to get a franchise quarterback and that's the person we had to give up, so be it. But Deshaun Payne to me he's got the same attitude. And I actually think Jonathan Allen has that attitude too, but the difference is Payne has 2 more years on his contract. Jonathan Allen, his expires after this season. So that's the difference between Deshaun Payne and Allen, is Deshaun Payne's just got more years on his contract, so I think he stays more. I think he sucks up more of the double teams so that everyone else can have an opportunity to get one-on-one. And usually they win their battles. And then the 4th player is Terry McLaurin. He has been a franchise caliber receiver since he's walked through our doors. He's been good. He's never complained. He's the receiver that you want. He's a DeAndre Hopkins type. DeAndre Hopkins never complained, never whined. He just went out there and played football. No matter what his quarterback situation was, he'd have a bad quarterback, go out there and put out over 1,000 yards receiving. He'd have a good quarterback, go out there and put over 1,000 yards receiving, put 10, 15 touchdowns on the board. So never complain. He's not a lot of receivers are divas, and he's not a diva. Terry McLaurin's not a diva, and he's the perfect person you want on your team. Okay, so those are the 4 guys to me that are untradeable. So if you're gonna talk a package with Washington, if you include one of them, you're taking out a first-round pick first off. That's just insulting. Okay, you have your franchise quarterback who doesn't want to be there. Our guys want to be here. Deshaun Payne, I'm pretty sure Deshaun Payne, Chase Young, and Sweat love it here right now. So let's see with Ron Rivera's coach. Switched up the scheme, made them all more effective. So I don't want to hear that cry. Those are 4 guys to me that are untradeable. Jonathan Allen to me is like a tier, he's close to being untradeable. But the problem is his contract expires, and I don't know if we're going to pay him. Because we got to make sure we save money we're probably prioritizing Montez Sweat, Chase Young, and Terry McLaurin, at least those 3. Drawn Payne may be another one that's victim of not being able to pay him either. That's maybe a possibility. But the other two, Sweat and Young and McLaurin, are three players that you got to pay, and I think you got to pay him I think you got to pay McLaurin next year, and then you got to pay the other two guys after in a couple years after that. So you got to make sure you have the money for that. And as much as I would love to keep hold of every player we ever draft, I hate this about the NFL. I think if you draft a player, you should be able to pay them, and it shouldn't affect your roster, your cap. I think you should pay to keep the guys that you drafted. So if you draft a really good player like we just did, you should be able to pay them whatever it takes to keep them, and it doesn't affect your salary cap. That's one thing I hate about the NFL. I love the NFL, but I hate it. I'm just switching right here just so that my camera doesn't go out. I'm doing a video record and I'm driving to work. That's just, I don't like that. I hate that about the NFL. I wish they had like some kind of thing where if you draft a player, you can sign him long. You can extend his contract if you want to, a player, and give him whatever the market value is for them. Now that's where you have to be fair on the market value aspect. But so, for example, they draft like Deshaun Watson's going to count against the salary cap. We didn't draft him. That it'd make people be more enamored with signing draft picks and be less free agency, less trades, because then you can sign the player as long as you want. Now, a player can also decline to play for that team and just go to free agency, but that would be like my ideal. I wish the NFL would go to that. Again, you can still have like non-guaranteed contracts. That's definitely a possibility too. But we're off topic here. Sorry. Here's what I have been saying for the last few days. I think this is what Washington does. This gets the trade done. First this year, first next year. Okay? And the first year after that. And everyone's going to, as soon as I say that, everyone's like, oh, you give them too much pick? No. Guys, I'm going to be honest with you. First round picks don't equal Super Bowls. The Browns have had first round picks for years. They don't equal Super Bowls. We traded away, 3 first rounders and 2 seconds to the Rams for RG3. What did they do with that? They did nothing with it. The Rams the last few years have not had first round picks. Guess what? They're in the playoffs almost every year, and they were in Super Bowl 2 years ago. Okay? If you're talking about first round picks, you can say they had Darnold on there. That's fine. But first round picks don't equal Super Bowls. Patriots never have first round picks. Never ever. They always trade back, and they were always in Super Bowl under Tom Brady. So first round picks they're good players. They're definitely better caliber players. They're definitely radar guys. They're on everyone's radar. So everyone knows they're good or whatever. But first round picks don't equal Super Bowls. Okay? And since they've been a new franchise, how many first round picks do you think first overall picks Houston's had? They've had a couple because they've sucked. Okay? They had Derek Carr. Then they got, who was that? He was a linebacker. He's like 6'9", outside linebacker, defensive end or something. Mario Williams. I think that might be his name. And then they had Jadeveon Clowney. They've gone through so many first-round picks and since their inception. And Washington's not had one yet. Okay? And there's so many teams that have late-round picks every year. And look at Steelers. I hate Steelers with passion. I hate them. But look at them. They're good every year. Why? Because they do better player analysis, which is why I don't understand why we got rid of Kyle Smith. They do better player analysis. Very good player analysis. Let me rephrase that. And they just know how to handle things. Okay? That's how you handle a franchise. It doesn't matter how many first-round picks you have. I legit don't give a damn about first-round picks. If you ever watch my trade, my videos where I do draft picks, I prefer to trade back every time and accumulate more picks. The way I see it, and this is the way Bill Belichick sees it, and I love his philosophy on this, is every draft pick is a lottery ticket. And you get a chance to hit the lottery every time you draft a player. So if you draft in 6 players a year or 15, and you like one out of every 7 players is a player that can start and play in this league and be good, then you're getting less percentage of that with less picks. Okay? I mean, I guess the percentage might go up a little bit when you're in the first round, but there are guys late round. We have guys on our team right now. Like, look at our starting center. We got him in 6th round. Cameron Curl was the 7th rounder this year. and he's a fantastic safety. He's our starting safety next year. I don't give a shit. I don't want to bring in anyone else. I want Cameron Curl. Jeremy Reeves, who replaced a really expensive safety in Landon Collins, and Deshaun Everett. Deshaun Everett's not expensive. Let me rephrase that. But the guy who came in and replaced those two, he did fantastic, and I'm pretty sure he's undrafted, or he's like he might be a 7th as well. But I think he's undrafted. Cole Holcomb, undrafted. Cam Sims, undrafted. Steven Sims, undrafted. Taylor Heineke, undrafted. Now, I'm not sitting there saying you need to not grab guys in the draft, and undrafted guys have more value than drafted guys. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is it's not a guarantee that when you have a first-round pick, you're going to get a good player. Okay? It's not a guarantee. I mean, there's a high likelihood. It's definitely possible. But if you have good player analysis, and we've had the last few years, we've drafted guys in the middle to late rounds, and they've been very good. We've had guys drafted that have the ability later rounds to fill the role. Even though a first rounder would be nice, you can't beat a franchise quarterback, guys. Look at the effect of Tom Brady, and not everyone's Tom Brady. I didn't get that. That's a bad comparison for most people. Okay. Not everyone's Tom Brady. Look at the effect of what happens when you put a veteran who knows football and is probably the best to ever do it, or at least the most accomplished to ever do it, in a team like the Buccaneers, where they had Jameis Winston last year. Jameis Winston, actually, I don't think Jameis Winston's a bad quarterback. 30-plus touchdowns. He did have 30 interceptions, but when you're playing an offense where they're told to air it out all the time, you take that risk. And he had over 5,000 passing yards. And that team was 7-9. Tom Brady comes in, automatically 4 extra wins. So if you just look at like his numbers, and I don't have them in front of me, I think he had like 33 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. This year, our quarterback situation was 16 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. Imagine what Washington would have done this year. I'm going to make sure this is going again, okay? Imagine what Washington would have done this year. If we had almost 20 more touchdowns and half as many interceptions. Just imagine that. Washington won our division. We should have won more games. I'm going to be bluntly honest with you. We should have. I've said this before, so I'm not shooting off the mouth and I'm not flapping my gums. We should have beaten the Giants twice. So there's 2 wins. So there's 9 wins we should have had. We should have beaten the Lions. So there's 3 wins. So now we're up to 10 wins. Should have beaten the Panthers, but we had to give the old Dwayne Haskins experiment one more try. And I even say we were in a position to beat the Seahawks, and we should have beat the Browns. But let's just say those 4. That's a 4 wins right there. Dwayne Haskins would have been the difference in 4 wins, and the other 7 wins we probably would have won by larger margins. With Haskins with Dwayne or Deshaun Watson. So just imagine that. That's how much a franchise quarterback impacts the game. We should have won that without him. There's other games that we could have won if we have Deshaun Watson under center. I don't even think it's a question. I think we win those games with Deshaun Watson under center. We don't get in the situation where we're trailing and we're down against Arizona. We're not down against Ravens. We actually compete in that game. We're not getting spanked by the Rams. So I don't think that happens when you have a franchise quarterback. It's completely different. And we haven't had one for a long time. So everyone's just like, oh, a quarterback can't be that important. We won with Kirk and stuff like that. It's completely different when you have a guy who can come in and put up almost 5,000 passing yards and do it efficiently. Without a lot of turnovers. And like I said, we won our division with 7 wins, and we had like 3,200 passing yards and 16 passing touchdowns. We won our division with that. Imagine what happens if Washington puts up another 20 touchdowns and has half as many turnovers at the QB position. Oh my goodness. You got to be kidding me if you don't think that that's going to be a good football team. Deshaun Watson is a force multiplier. Okay? This is why a lot of people were after Stafford. Stafford, he played for a bad franchise. You can say what you want. He had Megatron. He didn't have Megatron that long. He only had Megatron for like 3 or 4 years. And he's always had decent. He's never had a running game, so every team expects him to throw. Okay, he's never had a good defense. He's never had consistency at the quarterback or the coaching position. It's always going through a shuffle. Okay, but the reason why Stafford was so sought after is because Stafford's a force multiplier. You put him in any offense, and your offense is going to get about 20%, 30% better. Okay, now as good as Stafford is, Deshaun Watson's way better than that. He's a way better improvement to any offense. Now, I'm sure if the Rams right now could afford it and do it, they would definitely trade more first-round picks and accumulate and get Deshaun Watson if they could. They don't have the leverage to do it though. So I'm tired of it. I say like almost do whatever it takes to get Deshaun Watson. I'm for that. If it takes 4 first rounders, so be it. First rounders don't equal Super Bowls. Good franchise quarterbacks do. We are a contender with him on our roster. If he adds to our roster right now, we are a contender. You imagine Deshaun Watson against the Buccaneers rather than Taylor Heineke. And I think Taylor Heineke did an amazing job. But Deshaun Watson's a completely different animal. And we get him like a receiver, like at least one good receiver on top of Terry McLaurin and Logan Thomas. Like I said, it's a completely different animal. And you're crazy if you think we need to trade away any of the 4 players that I mentioned. The only one I said I would maybe consider is Deron Payne, but he has a lot more. I think he counts as the first rounder, so you got to take a first rounder off the table if you add him. Jonathan Allen, he only has 1 year left on his deal. Okay, I think like I said, I think you get it done with 3 firsts, Jonathan Allen, a 3rd this year, a 5th next year, and Landon Collins. I think you take all 3 of those off the table. And hell, we'll throw in Tim Settle and we'll swap you for J.J. Watt. That way you can get J.J. Watt off your books. We'll take him for a year. We're going to have to, I don't know. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. And I have a backup plan. My backup plan is you don't get that. You go talk to the Jets and you trade a 3rd round pick and get a 3rd round pick and get Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold's got a raw deal. Guys, for anyone who thinks that Sam Darnold's bad, his best receiver was Jamison Crowder. He does not have weapons. I will harp on that. Like, go look at his roster he had this year. The best receiver Sam Darnold had on his roster was Jamison Crowder, who was a 3rd option or a 3rd receiver on our team. When he played for us, he was a 3rd receiver. Washington would probably love to have him back with the receiving corps we have now. I'd love to have him back. Him alongside McLaurin. McLaurin will draw so much attention, and Crowder will eat. But Jamison Crowder is the best receiver he has. Okay? I know it's not saying much. Jamison Crowder's not a number 1 receiver. He's a number 3 receiver. He can sometimes be a number 2, depending on how he's used. But Sam Darnold would be a legitimate option. Here's what you do. You trade Sam Darnold for a 3rd, and you have a couple options play out. One, he sucks, or he's good. Okay, because you didn't trade much to get him anyway. You sign him long-term at quarterback next year. It won't be no $35 million. You'll probably get him for about $20. He'll be a middle market quarterback. You get him for about $20, which is not bad. That's exactly what you want at quarterback. You're not blowing up a team for that. Okay? If he sucks, you can let him go, and you can get your quarterback in the draft next year. And in free agency, you get players this year, and if they suck, you're preparing yourself next year to draft somebody who's going to step in the building and he's got a loaded team around him. He's just got to play good quarterback. I still say you need to trade him, get Zach Wilson, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Washington's looking to do that. But that's what I would do if they don't decide either A, trade everything for Deshaun Watson, or B, trade up and get a quarterback. Your 3rd option is go to Sam Darnold. I do think Sam Darnold is better than he's been given credit for. Maybe you don't believe that, that's fine, but I 100% believe he is better than what he's been given credit for because he's been on such a bad franchise. Adam Gase is his head coach. That enough should say that he's probably better than what he's been projected at. So, all right, so I've rambled on for about 19 minutes. I just wanted to make sure it's clear that we're not trading Chase Young for Deshaun Watson. Okay? The whole point is to add to our already growing good team, not to diminish it. Okay, you take away Deshaun or Chase Young or Montez Sweat, we're not a step away anymore. We're not like a contender. We're a team that's a step away, just like we are now. Right now, we're a quarterback away from being a contender. Quarterback and like a weapon or two on offense away from being a contender. Okay, you take away Deshaun Watson and you take away Chase Young or Montez Sweat, and that changes. Now we're back to being one player away from winning it. Now, if you have another way of getting that player, I mean, I'm all ears, but whatever. This has been the Redskin Report, the Washington Football Report. I'm sorry. Please follow me on Instagram. It's the WTF Report, WFT Report, Washington Football Team Report. I tried to go with the DC Sport Report, but it was already taken. So I thought it rhymed, and it was pretty cool. But this is the Washington Football Report, and hail to the Redskins. I know we're not supposed to say that anymore, but I'm still going to say it. I changed the channel name because it was getting flagged because the name Redskins was in it. So I changed it. Okay, so I'm already over it. You should get over it too. But hail and have a good one.